Hi guys, Mr. Biggers here, and today I'm going to take about 5 minutes to go through our Unit 5, Lesson 5 notes. These notes are on CPCTC and proofs. So I would like you to pause the video at this time and do the warm-up. I'm going to go ahead and go through this now, so make sure you pause the video. You try it first, okay? So we have this statement here. It says, if triangle D HY is congruent to triangle THY. Then complete each of the congruent statements. So what we need to do is we need to mark the congruent and corresponding angles in this congruency statement. So anything that has the letter D is congruent to the letter T. Anything that has the letter H is congruent to the letter H. And anything that has the letter Y is congruent to the letter Y. So we're going to fill this in here. HD would be HT. Congruent to segment HT. Angle DYH is going to be congruent to angle TYH. Segment TH is going to be congruent to segment DH. All right, and we have the same method for number 2. Angle TWH is going to be congruent to DWH. Angle DWH. You can see how I drew those arrows to help me think that out. I have angle HTW, so HT and then W, it's going to go HD and W. It follows the same order, angle HDW. And then we have segment TW is congruent to segment DW. Those would be the congruent statements. So what the heck is CPCTC? This is a theorem. This is a definition. It's very common in geometry, and we are going to use it often. It means that corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay? So if we know two triangles are congruent, then we also know that every pair of their corresponding parts is also congruent. So the corresponding parts of congruent triangles theorem states that when two triangles are congruent, every corresponding part of one triangle is congruent to another. Knowing this, use the two triangles below and give the given congruency statements to fill in the blank. So we have AC here. AC is at the side of this right triangle. It's going to be congruent to LN, okay? By corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. We have BC at the bottom. BC is congruent to MN. We have angle BCA. So BCA is right here, is congruent to angle MNL. And then we have ABC is going to be congruent to angle LMN, okay? So corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Example 2, we have to complete the flow proof below. So we're given that these two angles are congruent to each other. We're also given that these two angles are congruent. If they're not marked in the picture, make sure you mark it. So angle KBC is congruent to angle ABC. I have to trace that out, right? KBC is here. ACB is here. And then we have angle K is here. We have angle A is here. So we're going to mark those. Make sure we have all the given information marked in our proof. There is a typo. This should say KBC. This is given. The other given information we have here. So this information is given from the proof above in green. So I'm going to go ahead and color code that green. The other piece of given information is what I have circled in red, and that's angle K is congruent to angle A. In these flow proofs, the things that are in the boxes, those are your statements, and then the lines below them are the reasons as to why the statements are given, okay? So we have to look at this. BC is congruent to segment BC. That is not a given statement, But clearly we can see here in our diagram that because of the reflexive property, remember reflexive property means something is the same as itself. Because of the reflexive property, we're able to mark those two congruents, or two segments congruent to each other, okay? Now, if we look at all of the markings that we have so far in our triangles, they're asking how could we prove those two triangles are congruent? So we can prove that triangle KBC is congruent to triangle ACB by angle, side congruency, because it goes angle, and then you have a side, okay? Because the two triangles are congruent, we are finally able to issue the proof. The proof that side length KB is congruent to side length AC. The two sides are congruent by the new definition we just learned. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So these flow proofs are called flow proofs because the arrows give you a sense of the direction that the proof is flowing, okay? So then example 3, I want you to pause the video and see if you can figure this out. I'm going to go ahead and work this out now. So pause the video if you would like to try this first. All right, so the following information is given. So I am going to make sure the diagram shows this. So BA is congruent to DA, and that's marked. We also have CA is congruent to EA, okay? So we need to prove that angle C is congruent to angle E. All right, so our proof statement is always the last thing that you're going to write for your last reason in a proof. So we can already fill this out. Angle C is congruent to angle E. Now we're going to have to figure out why and what that reason is. But to do that first, we have to fill in everything else. So they've already marked this as given, okay? So what else was given? We can see here that we had CA is congruent to EA, and that's not marked in our proof yet, so I'm going to go ahead and write that. So CA is congruent to segment EA, all right? And then here we have that the two triangles are congruent, but before we do that, we have to answer why are those two angles congruent to each other? So why is angle CAB congruent to angle EAD? So CAB is right here, EAD is right here. Those two angles, if you think about it, X marks the spot. They are vertical angles. Vertical angles are congruent. So we are going to write that on that line. Vertical angles. It says that they're congruent. Okay? And then we're able to prove the two triangles congruent. So think of this as a problem. I just gave you these two triangles, and I asked you to tell me why are they congruent. The reason that these two triangles are congruent is because you have a side, an angle, and then another side. The angle is included between the two sides. So they're congruent by side, angle, side. So why in the world is angle C congruent to angle E? Well, angle C is congruent to angle E by corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. CPCTC. Make sure you remember that, because now that we know the two triangles are congruent, we know that all of their corresponding parts are also congruent. Pause the video at any point if you missed anything, and good luck on your practice with CPC